मते हाथ उठेबे मोर स्टार्ट करी हला हां स्टार्ट करबी reading make a fool man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. Good afternoon everybody. On the occasion of International Literacy Day and the observation of Reading Week, I welcome you all to today's webinar, Reading as Writing. As you all know, reading is a very special skill, but its application varies from person to person. It is not uniformly applied. At our school level, we teach our students reading, but we mainly focus on how to comprehend an unknown text. But that is not all. In the changing scenario, our students have to go beyond that. They need to know what to read and what to skip, how much time they need to spare for extensive reading. To flash light on it, we have among us an eminent professor of national repute, Dr. Ajit Kumar Mishra, Professor of English in the Department of Humanistic Studies at the prestigious Institute of Indian Institute of Technology, Varanasi. Dr. Mishra holds a doctorate degree in African American Studies from Banaras Hindu University. His research interests include narrative studies, visual culture, and communicative skills. He has been an institutional and corporate trainer on areas of research communication, humanistic communication, and health communication. He finds it thoroughly enjoyable when he is interacting and learning from the multitude. He has conducted scores of technical sessions on research writing and pedagogical strategies. He has designed courses like literature and coping skills, literature and design thinking, leadership through literature to guide STEM students into the world of literary experience. Welcome, welcome, sir. Now, I would like to welcome my principal, who is the principal of the host school, Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Sahu, sir, who is an eminent scholar, teacher, academician, administrator, and above all, a philanthropist as well. He is our pathfinder and guiding force who stands like a rock behind all our success stories. Welcome, welcome, Shah. Now I take the privilege and feel honored to welcome our revered Assistant Regional Officer, DAV Institutions, Odisha, Zone 1, Dr. Sujata Sahu, who is an eminent scholar of English literature and has been in the world of English teaching community for more than 30 years. She is our pathfinder under whose able leadership and command we continue to proceed further and further. Her august presence in this webinar has made us feel honored. Welcome, welcome, ma'am. Now, I would like to call upon the anchor of our ship, our guide, our principal, Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Sahu sir, to bless the gathering with his worthy words and inspire us. Welcome, welcome, sir. It is over to you.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar and good afternoon to everyone. On behalf of DAV Public School, PPL, Paradeep, I welcome all the dignitaries, viewers, and my dear students to this webinar on reading as writing. I welcome the guest speaker of the occasion, Professor Dr. Ajit Kumar Mishra of IIT Varanasi. I am elated to have among us Dr. Sujata Sahu, ARO, DAV Institution, Odisha Zone 1, who is the greatest support and the inspiration for all of us. Dear friends, today, Dr. Ajit Kumar Mishra is going to throw light on the communication union between reading and writing. Reading and writing are interdependent. By reading, we acquire knowledge and wisdom and a better understanding of the aspect of life, which in turn help us to express ourselves in writing to inform and entertain. Reading and writing are two sides of the coin of literary and intelligence. So, as learners and educators, it is important for us to promote reading so that it can help us to excel in writing. I'm sure at the end of the today's talk, all the viewers will read more, thus write well. Thank you and happy reading. Once again, I welcome all of you and Sir Ajit Kumar Mishra to this webinar. Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Your words will definitely inspire and encourage us and motivate also us. Long waiting ended. The much awaited moment has come. Viewers, it is time to listen Dr. Ajit Kumar Mishra, Professor of English, IIT Banaras. He has been connected to us. So I don't want to consume much time. It is over to you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone out there. And I'm really thankful to PPL, DAV PPL, for organizing this interesting program. Thank you, Mr. Sahu, Principal of DAV PPL. And thank you to the ARO of DAV Zone, Odisha Zone 1, and the host of this program, Mr. Sivarendra Mahapatra. I also thank all the participants who are here to be with me on this roller coaster ride to the world of reading as writing. So I must tell you that I've been doing all these things for a long, long time now. And it'll be a very, very interesting experience for me to share some of my insights that I have developed over this period while working on these areas. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for this time. Before I start, a couple of things, because those are the best practices when we organize any event online. So we need to follow those best practices. In case I lose connection with you for a while, it may be due to some technical snag in the internet connection. So I'll be back in a few moments. So that's not a problem. Secondly, may I please know who are the participants that are on board right now? I mean, I want to see how diverse is the audience so that I can formulate my presentation accordingly. So I think we have quite a few students on board, teachers as well on board. Am I right, Mr. Mahapatra?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's a very interesting mix. In fact, we have teachers and we have students on board. So taking them together and guiding them into the world of reading as writing will be an interesting experience, of course. And there is something else. May I please also know that Mr. Mahapatra is going to moderate the session in case, I mean, we have questions, we have queries, or we have doubts in between. There are two options. We can take them right then, or we can reserve them to the end of this session so that once I'm through with my presentation, I can take those questions and then we can discuss those things. So let me know the plan, I mean, plan of the hosts, the organizers. What do you plan to do? Should we take the questions as and when they come to us, or we can hold them to the end of the presentation?
Sir, actually, we are going to continue your talk for 45 minutes. And at the end of 45 minutes, we'll allow some students to interact with you.
Yes, please allow as many students as you. It's their show. So I'm primarily here because of the students. Okay. So if you can allow, I mean, a large number of questions from the students, it'll be really nice. All right. So
sorry to interrupt, sir. Sir, actually, we have two platforms. Platform one is Zoom, and other platform is YouTube. And most of the students join through YouTube. And also some students are here in Zoom also, and some of our faculty members are also in the Zoom platform.
Fine, then that's great.
So at the end of your session, the students will interact with you.
Okay, fine. Thank you for that information. Before I start, I know I'm visible, although I may not look great to all the participants out there.
Yes, sir, you are visible.
I'm not worried about that. What's more important is whether I'm audible or not, whether I'm clearly audible or not. So please confirm whether I'm audible or not.
Audible.
Yes, sir.
No problem, you are audible.
Very much audible.
Okay, fine then. That means I do not have to do anything else about the audio quality of mine. So give me a few seconds so that we can start. I'll share my screen with you and then we'll start formally.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes. There is a message for you. Two people are in the waiting room. If you wish, you can allow them to be in. Two people are in the waiting room. So you can ask the technical support to allow them to be in the meeting. Okay, fine. So I think the screen is now visible. Yeah, please confirm if the screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
it is visible.
Fine then. Well, and if you also wish, you can. I don't exactly know whether this session is being recorded or not. If you wish, you can record this for future reference so that you can point towards the lapses that I commit during this session. And you can also share your observation and comments about this session at the end of it. So let's start straight away. Reading as writing, that may sound a little bizarre, out of place, because we don't normally come across this idea of reading and writing as concurrent ideas, especially when we approach a teaching scenario, especially a language teaching scenario. we basically take care of the LSRW components, and then we extend that by adding 2 more components, vocabulary and pronunciation, and maybe a few other things that teachers on their own wish to. So if you look at the graded platform, you'll find that it all begins with L, that is listening, which is not at all a literacy skill. It comes to us naturally. Even if we do not go to a school, we can begin to speak because that comes to us naturally. It's not a literacy skill. That means without the support of any teacher or mentor, we can do so. So that's not a literacy skill. It comes to us naturally. That's inherent. But beyond that, as we move on, so we come to speaking, reading, and writing. So listening and speaking are not necessarily pure literacy skills, okay? To some extent, speaking can be a literacy skill because it can also be trained. But listening is not at all a literacy skill. And that's one big reason why when the host of the program, Mr. Mahapatra, he started with the famous lines written by Francis Bacon, reading makes a full man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. So the whole idea is to just a moment, I'm receiving a call from the host. I'm receiving a call from the host. Let me take it. Hello. So तम तो कॉल करियो होस्ट ना तमे नीचे कॉल करियो किछ से नहीं तमे मते कॉल करियो सेटा को हां हां मते करे पहले ये एडजस्टमेंट हां host can do that. kind of full screen start कर दीजिए ना सेति पे हां सेति पे मते क्लोज कर दीजिए. Right. All right, I'm back. I'm sorry for this interruption because I received a call from the organizers and they wanted to check for some technical things. All right, so is everything fine now? Please let me know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. There are certain technical issues at your end, Mr. Sahu, and your people are taking care of it. As soon as it's resolved, we'll start.
Okay. Anyone who is doing, children, please restrict yourself. Anyone is doing.
Okay, I think we are ready now, so we can proceed. Well, I was talking about how Francis Bacon has very rightly said that reading makes a full man, conversation or conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. So it's all about a journey from being a full man. Man is not marked here for genders. From being a full man to being an exact man. That means from being a full person to be an exact person. So that's the journey. So in between what we find conversation or conference, which is an equally important skill. So for this particular session, we are going to see how our reading strategies or the kind of reading skills that we develop in ourselves can actually help us in our writing tasks as well. So most often teachers or educators approach these two skills as two distinct skills, as different and distinct skills. And that's how they focus on reading and writing as separate entities. But the whole idea here is to see them as very closely allied entities, not as separate entities. That means while approaching reading or while employing certain reading strategies, we can also take care of our writing needs. So that's the whole idea. I'll show you how there are different reading strategies that can be adopted in order to improve our writing skills. So the journey is going to be from reading as writing to reading is writing. So we're going to equate reading with writing. So that's the task. That's the objective for the session. So let's see. So this is exactly what I was talking about. I was talking about very, very distinct abilities, very, very important skills that we can cultivate in ourselves in order to perform all these tasks. So there is no need for me to talk about all this yet again. So reading makes a full man, and then writing an exact man. So we can move ahead and see. So, but before that, let's take a look at this pyramid. What we find here is very interesting. It is speaking and writing at the top of it, because that's the end product, the finished product. That means when we see people speaking well, or when we see or discover people writing well, we think that they have done it on their own. They have achieved or they have accomplished these two tasks well. But then most often we do not focus on an important thing that has ultimately led to these two skills, the development of these two skills, that is reading. So it's important because especially when we look at the CBSE course development or course designing strategy, we'll find that the primary focus is on speaking. That means it's on the communicative competence of the learners. And the course has been designed, all the courses, especially the language courses, have been designed in a manner so as to develop or enhance the communicative competence in learners. Although it also focuses a little on writing, but the primary focus is on speaking, not on writing. On the other hand, when we look at the design of ICSE or ISC courses, that is CISCE courses, we'll find that the primary focus is on writing skills, in the development of writing skills, although there is a little focus on the development of speaking skills as well. But then we are approaching these two skills as conjunctional, as concurrent skills, as complementary skills. They complement each other very, very well. So before we can understand how these two skills are derived, are obtained, it's important that we take care of this particular thing, because this ultimately leads to both the things. I'm not talking about everyday speaking here. I'm talking about organized, formal speaking. For everyday speaking, you do not have to read anything. You just allow your ears to hear the sounds. I am receiving a few raised hands. So Sanjukta, you can hold your question to the end of this session so that we can take all the questions simultaneously. Okay, in the meanwhile, you can note down your question. So this is also a message to all the participants that please note down your questions, your queries and doubts. We'll take them all at the end of it. All right. Okay. So that's why reading is very, very important. We need to understand these strategies first and well. And how do you do that? In order to do so, you need to invert this pyramid. So you need to bring it up, which otherwise lies hidden. You need to bring this up here so that you can start with this in order to understand these two processes, the speaking and writing processes. In order to understand these two processes, you need to understand the reading process well, the reading strategy well. So that's the reason why I have deliberately inverted this pyramid so that we can bring reading to the top, not to the bottom. Okay. So the first question is, why do we read? You may try to find out answers. I'll give you just 1 minute to think about it so that if you wish, you can write in the chat box quickly, why do we read? As I told you, without reading, we see many people who have never read anything. They are comfortable performing their daily activities. They're doing a lot of things on their own. They're self-made. They are independent. They can perform their tasks quite well. I'm talking about those villagers, those rural people, those workers, those farmers who are probably not read. They do not have that literacy, yet they are able to perform their everyday activities so very well. I mean, when we go to a mechanics shop, a vehicle mechanics shop, we find young children working there who have not gone to school probably, yet they are able to perform their tasks very, very well. They repair your vehicles in a manner that an automobile engineer may not be able to do. So why do we read then? If there are certain activities that can be performed without reading, then where is the need to read? So you can think of it for a minute and then you can write down your responses. If you wish, you can write down your responses in the chat box so that I can quickly get to see those responses. Even the moderators can also get to see the responses in the chat box. Okay. So, all right. Yes, RK Jana, please reserve your question for the end so that we can take it then. So now we have a few responses in the chat box, you can see. Okay. Now, once you find this answer, to help you find a few answers, I have given you these options. For example, we may say we read for pleasure, maybe for escape, maybe for we find this activity interesting. We gather information for learning, okay, and various other things, for knowledge and various other things. So these are some of the most popular answers that we get every time we ask this question. Why do we read? So most people will say we read either for information or for pleasure. Fine. And once we gather some information on the basis of our reading, we need to process that information so that some kind of knowledge is created or produced, and we can exchange that knowledge. We can apply that knowledge to understand, to make sense of things around us, and to communicate our ideas and views to people who interact with us. But is that all? That is the question. Is that all? So if that is not all, then we need to think of things that lie beyond this particular thing. That is, beyond information, relaxation, enjoyment, pleasure, or knowledge even. So if that's not all, then we can think of doing things that are beyond these lines. So you keep this in your mind, I'll come back to it. The second question is this: what do we read? So there's a very nice rhyme on the right of your screen. You can read it quickly and try to make sense of it. The more that you read, the more thing you'll know. The more that you learn, the more places you go. So reading, you can see how reading has been associated with more and more information, that is enhancing your storehouse of information. And when you do that, you can go many places. That means you become competent enough to go many places. You develop competency and confidence in yourself, and you're ready to go more places. That means you are confident to take yourself to many places and interact with people. So when you think of what you read, for example, the students, what you read every day, you can actually prepare a list of the things that you read. You'll probably read science, you read social studies or social sciences, you read mathematics, you read languages and literature. So these are some of the most important things that you read every day when you come to your school or as part of your school curriculum. So when you look at these things, the first question is, why do we read? And then what do we read? So let's start with what do we read? As I told you, we read mathematics, science, social sciences, languages and literature. Okay. Now you create a graph. You create a graphical image of the things that you read every day. And you'll find that it tilts heavily towards things that give you more and more information and knowledge. For example, science. When you read science, how do you read science? How do you read it? You can think of it. All I'm trying to do is to ignite your imagination, your visual thinking, so that you can begin to think about these things, and then you'll find the answers yourself. Okay. So what do you read a lot? You read science a lot. You do mathematics a lot. You do, social sciences a lot. You do things that actually ignite your scientific spirit, your scientific approach. They refine your scientific temperament, your objective temperament. For example, when reading science, you cannot say, I'm reading it for pleasure. Most people do not say that. I'm reading it for pleasure. I'm reading it for information and knowledge. Okay. So that's the biggest difference. While reading literature, you may say, I'm not reading for knowledge or information. I'm reading it for pleasure, to enjoy, to make myself happy. So that means there are two different kinds of material that we are made to read. All those materials have been designed for us to read. Now that's exactly where you will find a big difference. And what is that difference? I'll come to that difference after a while. So this difference. Now you see, this is how we all are. This is a triad. You can see the triad, the triangle. This is a triad in which each of the components or the elements complement the other. That means it is inquisitive, it is aesthetic, and it is expressive. So I'll explain what inquisitiveness is all about. All human beings are inquisitive and aesthetic by birth. You'll not find a single human being who is not inquisitive. You cannot recall your childhood, even early childhood days, when you would run to this place and that place in search of things. When somebody snatches the things from you, you'll definitely chase it. Just observe how children behave, and you'll find that yes, they're very, very inquisitive. All young children grow up with this particular thing, that is inquisitiveness. They ask a lot of questions to their parents. Why is it so? What is that? Okay, how is it? Where is it? When is it? So many questions. So that is an indicator that all human beings are inquisitive, because we are very, very curious about things around us. But at the same time, we are also aesthetic, and that's the reason why we love music. We enjoy watching films, okay, and we do several things. We love art, paintings, sculpture, various things. So you're carrying a mobile phone in your hand, suddenly you come across a beautiful, lovely scene. You stop there and take a selfie. Why do you do that? You never take a selfie with your science book or your mathematics book. But why do you think of taking a selfie with a lovely, background, lovely scenery, maybe a waterfall, maybe uh, of flower, maybe a garden, maybe a landscape, lawns, various things. We do not click images with our mathematics book on the background. Okay, we don't say, no, this is my mathematics book and I'm going to click a selfie with it. With my science book, we do not do that, because we're actually feeding our aesthetic need then. Therefore, we are not feeding our curious need, that is inquisitive need. But at the same time, at the bottom of it, there is something very, very interesting. And what is that? This is the expressive urge. All human beings are expressive, highly expressive. And especially this is a message to the young students watching or attending or participating in this session. This is a special message for all of you. When you grow up and think of pursuing a career either in engineering or in sciences, that's what people are doing these days. When you think of pursuing a career in sciences and engineering, and you think of joining any institute that is reputed for engineering and sciences, you will need this. I'm telling you this because we are getting to see this problem with our students at IIT. Okay, so that, I mean, you prepare yourselves, and when you come to IITs or NITs or good technical institutes, you'll not have this problem. Therefore, you need to understand that the expressive urge that we all humans have is a very, very strong urge. That means we cannot keep quiet. We have to express ourselves. So whenever we know something, whenever we discover something, whenever we learn something, we have to express. And how do you do that? How do you express yourself? Either through words, all right, spoken words or written words. So if you do not allow your expressive urge to be, given a channel or to be channelized, that will lead to problems. Okay, you cannot repress your expressive urge for long. You need to express yourself. So that's the reason why it is very, very important for you to know that these are the two important channels available to us, speaking and writing, through which we can actually channelize our expressive urge. Since we're not talking about speaking skill today, I'm going to focus on the writing skill, because that's a higher skill than speaking. So therefore, you need to be good at writing skills, so that when you come to good institutes, you are ready. Otherwise, you'll always find it very difficult to write, sit down and write. I must tell you something that BTech third year, fourth year students, I teach them, and unfortunately, most of the students complete their assignment by copying content from the internet and pasting it to a file and claiming that file, that content to be there. which is not a fact. And it's not at all a good sign. Why do they do that? Because they do not know how to write. Therefore, they do that. They cannot write independently. They cannot write a few sentences independently. And that's the reason why they indulge in copying of content. Even IIT students do that. Although we are trying our best to discourage them, to help them learn. But the problem is they come from environments where they have never realized the importance of this particular skill. They never realized. Okay. So what I mean to say is it's very, very important for you to understand the strategies so that you can write independently. Okay. I have seen students who copy letters and emails from other sources and just change a few things and then use it as their own. What a tragedy, what a pathetic sight. Young, grown-up people are not able to write a few things on their own. All right? They can write only those things which they have rehearsed. For example, the teacher in the class has shared the notes with you. That means the fixed answers for each of the questions with you. You go home and you mug up those answers several times. Okay? You drill, you rehearse, you mug up, and then you come and write the same answers in the examination paper. But that's not the right way to do it, because you're not doing that independently. You're doing so with the help of somebody else, because the answers were given to you ready-made. They were supplied to you. You did not write the answers. So just imagine how you are harming your competency, your writing competency. So it's important for you to learn. Now, quickly to a few things. So I'm going to focus on two very important reading activities. So the first is this, that is reading as a cognitive activity in which your intellect, okay, or your intelligence comes into play. And how do you do that? I'm going to show you how, while reading a document, you can actually learn how to write. All right, so let's start with this. So this cognitive approach to reading, I mean, if you're adopting a cognitive approach to reading, that means you're adopting a logical scientific approach, which focuses on the process. Process means how it is done, how one sentence has been developed into a full paragraph, how one paragraph leads to the other paragraph, and we have a full length document. Okay, so it is more about the processes. Okay, the logical scientific approach tells you that. Logical scientific means you're adopting a pure scientific, objective, logical approach to your reading and understanding of that content, that document. So for that you need, so whenever you need to adopt a logical scientific approach, you know that you are focusing on the process, the processes, okay? The processes of how one word has been extended into a full-length sentence, and then how one sentence has been expanded into a full-length paragraph. The processes that are involved in the making of a word into a sentence and a sentence into a paragraph. So let me give you a few examples. So what exactly are you going to focus when you read a document? We have already left the idea of information, pleasure, and various other things behind. Okay, information and pleasure. Leave those things behind. Now you focus on vocabulary. Whenever you read a document, you'll definitely come across words and phrases and usage and various other things. So what kind of words? You may come across new words. So that goes into your storehouse. You may discover new words. How often you try to know a new word is a challenge for you. Okay, so in order to be updated with the latest developments in vocabulary, you need to learn new words. For example, these days we are talking about physical distancing. That's a new phrase. All right. Very recently, Webster's dictionary has included this phrase in their lexicon. Physical distancing. There is a word called truthiness. Okay. Truth and truthiness that has been recently included in Webster's. There is a word called dark web. Okay. A phrase, in fact, dark web. So there are so many things that, I mean, if you're reading document, so what is the idea? You can say, if you want to learn new words, so read documents that are produced or written recently, because you're reading a document that has been written. You cannot read anything that is not written. All right. So in order to read something, you need to have a document that has been written. If it is written, then you are learning the writing process through your reading. So that's why if you want to know new words, read documents that are recently written, because they will have the new words. The documents that were written in the past will not have the new words. So that's a good idea. So words and phrases and usage, how usage has changed over the year. There is a wonderful idea that is called univerbation. Okay, it is called univerbation. Univerbation, you know, it's a strategy, it's a technique in which, or with the help of which, compound words are converted into a single word. All right, compound words are converted into a single word. You might have seen that in the beginning, when we adopt compounding in order to create a compound word, we use a hyphen between two words that we are compounding. Okay, between two words that we are compounding. But after a certain period, you will come across the same compound word without the hyphen, and this time it becomes a single word. So this process is called univerbation. That means with the help of this strategy, compound words are converted into single words. You'll get to know about all these things, the usage, while reading. So what I mean to say is, when you are reading a document, you can single out words, phrases, usage. That means how a certain word has been used in a particular manner. So because you are adopting a logical scientific approach, so you can fragmentize and understand, okay, this word has been used in this particular manner. Okay, the moment you discover that, when you sit down to write a document or write something, you can also use the same word in the same manner, because you have learned the process. Okay, the process. The second is, we all know that when it comes to a document, a text, it's in fact an argumentation process. It's a result of an argumentation process. Okay, that means a certain argumentation has been developed. So try to find out how the argumentation has been developed. That means if you begin your document by saying that India is a rapidly growing economy, fine. India is a rapidly growing economy. So this is your argument, but this is not your text. This is a single argument. There's a single statement. India is a rapidly growing economy. Now you can sit down and find things that are going to support this argument. How are you going to do that? Okay. So you're going to support this argument. You're going to take this argument through the entire document with the help of some supporting material, some supporting statements. For example, if you say its GDP is this, its per capita income is this, and this is this, this is so. This way you can always find facts and data in order to support your argument. So once you discover that a certain text has a certain argumentation process, how is an argument developed? Then it becomes your writing strategy. You can also develop arguments in that manner. So discovering the argumentation process is very, very important. Any document for that matter, any document for that matter, even your rhymes, Jack and Jill, okay, went up the hill. So that also has a certain argumentation process. Try to discover it. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, the famous early age rhyme. It has an argumentation process. How I wonder what you, no, there's a sense of wonder. Okay, amazement. Amazement at what? Twinkle, twinkle, little star. So there is a scientific argument. I'm amazed by the twinkling of the stars. Why are the stars twinkling? Why do they twinkle in the sky? Okay, so this wonder is in fact a sense of amazement. So there is also an argumentation process involved in the production of rhymes. All you need to do is to understand the argumentation process step by step. Then it becomes easy for you to write or to express your ideas in the same manner. Then the structural properties, you can always discover the syntactical properties, the clauses, the phrases. You can always say how a certain clause is used, how a certain phrase is used, but you can keep it to the end. Once you develop these strategies, then you can think of this particular element. Then the mechanics, capitalization, punctuation. I must tell you that punctuation is one of the biggest problems in the world. A lot of problems in this world are mainly due to wrong punctuation or bad punctuation. So it's very, very important. And I must tell you that according to a survey, the comma is the most misused and the abused punctuation mark in the world. Whenever while writing, whenever we find that it's turning out to be a longer sentence, we just drop commas from the top. And we are happy with the way they are settled. So comma is the most misused and the abused punctuation mark. So you need to take care of punctuation marks so that you do not end up eating grandpa. So let's eat grandpa syndrome doesn't happen to you. Okay, so if you do not, then you're going to eat grandpa. Okay, you're not inviting grandpa to go along with you to have meal. So that's very, very important. Capitalization, punctuation. So look for these elements in a document. When I say document, quality documents, documents that have been, passed by a group of quality editors or content editors or copy editors. Those are quality documents. So when you read them, you can discover all these things. And while discovering all these things, you're learning how to write, how to use them in your writing. Okay. So if you say a certain word is capitalized in a certain place and the same word is not capitalized at a different place. So you try to find out what are those two different places. Then you know that that's the principle. In such cases, this word should be capitalized. In the other cases, it should not be capitalized. Now you know you don't have to read the theory. You don't have to read grammar, okay, which is a very, very daunting task. So I'll quickly show you. For example, you're reading a document, okay? I gave this task to young learners and they returned these responses to me, okay? You're reading a document and you find a lot of action words in them. So these are the action words, Something is being analyzed. In your science textbooks, you come across these words quite often. But in your social studies or social sciences textbooks, you do not come across these words often. That's the biggest difference. You come across different set of words in social sciences. It's taken from sciences texts, okay? Analyze, observe, investigate, identify, explore, diagnose. So these are the words, define. So you may come across define in the social sciences book as well, even explore, okay? So you can see these are the action words. That means if I am going to talk about some action, I can choose from these words, this words list, okay? So you can think of, you're finding something, how are you going to talk about it? Especially for standard 11, 12 science students who have to prepare a practical record in which they conduct an experiment and then they report their findings. How do you report your findings? Okay, so you can think of a few words. For example, confirm, content, demonstrate, reveal. These are the words that are very frequently used in the reporting of findings. Now you know that these are the most popular words that are used in the reporting of findings. So the next time you prepare your practical record, you don't have to copy the content from your senior, which most students do. You all will agree. Most students do that. They just find the practical records of their seniors, or they copy from their friends who happen to complete it first. Okay, so just take that and then copy the same thing. But what are you getting out of this practice? Nothing else. You're doing one thing, that is, you are strengthening your copying skills, not your coping skills, but your copying skills. So that's exactly what I talked about. IIT students also have this problem. They have this problem because they did not think about it during their school days. So that is the best place and the best time for you to prepare yourself. And they get bad grades because of this. I'm the one who gives them bad grades. I don't give them bad grades. They take bad grades on their own because of this particular thing. And then there is something else. And these are the things. I'm going to share these documents with you afterwards, and you can take a look and try to find out. Okay. So you have used a table or a diagram with certain information. So how are you going to talk about the information in a certain table? So these are some of the words that you can. So I did not find these words. These words were in fact discovered and reported to me by a group of students. Okay, we are experimenting with. So when we made them work independently, they did it on their own. And they reported that they are now more confident about their writing skills. Are you getting the point? So that is, so to indicate a positive stand and a few other things. Okay. So, and then this, when it comes to writing, we generally discourage students or learners to use phrasal verbs. Formal writing, especially you're writing an answer, you're preparing your report, do not use phrasal verbs. So you'll get to know that. You'll not find phrasal verbs in your science textbooks. You'll not find them. You'll find plain words. Okay. There is a dictionary of plain English. It has been published by Oxford University Press. So you can get a copy of, or you can ask your language teacher or your principal to get a copy of Dictionary of Plain English in your school library of you, or if you wish, you can buy your copy of it. It's not very expensive. You can still get it in the school library and see how plain words are more important than rhetorically strong words. So instead of phrasal verbs, you can write plain words. Like instead of writing find out, you can write discover. And how do you know about it? When you read your science books, okay, you'll know. Okay, because you're adopting a logical scientific approach. Then quickly these things, the adverbs, very quickly, they're very vague, therefore they're not used. And see, these are the reporting verbs. We know when you write something, we get to know whether you are tentative, you are neutral, or you are strong. Okay, you may not be there, you are absent, but when you write, the words that you use in your writing tell us whether you are tentative, unsure, unclear, or neutral, do not want to take any risk, or strong. Your words tell them. So how do you know that these words actually tell whether my stand is tentative, neutral, or strong? How do you know? It's only through reading. While reading something, when you come across these words, you know that they're tentative. The writer is not very sure about it. Okay. You can discover that, especially when you adopt the context clue strategy. The context clue strategy. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this strategy, context clue. If you're not familiar, try to familiarize yourself with context clue strategies. They're going to help you immensely. All right. And then you can see, I was talking about how you extend or stretch one word to a sentence, and then one sentence to multiple sentences and paragraphs. So you can see, for example, let's read this. Okay, let's read this quickly. I love to write research papers for school. Moreover, I really enjoy receiving large amounts of homework from my instructors. Fine. Somebody is saying something. Now, there is a certain strategy that has been employed by the writer to extend, because writing is all about extending our ideas from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, and 8 to 6. That is multiplying our ideas, extending, that is stretching our ideas. We cannot say that I have written just one sentence and my script is complete. No, you need to have multiple sentences. And how do you do that? How do you go beyond one sentence, which is always a big challenge for writers? So how do you do that? So you can see, when you read this, you can see there is a strategy involved. With the help of this little word, the first sentence has been extended. So you know that when I have to add another idea to an already existing or already expressed idea, I can use it. So you're discovering this through your reading. So now you're sure that whenever I have to add one idea to an already existing idea, and if I find both the ideas interrelated, I can use this word. So when you sit down to write, you can always use this particular word without any doubt. So while reading, you're actually writing. So you can see in this, you can try this yourself. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds quickly. So you try this. Romeo told Juliet that her spaghetti sauce was terrible. As a result, Romeo now cooks for himself. So what are you getting to see here? A consequence. A consequence. Consequence of some action. That is Romeo's comments on Juliet's spaghetti, or on the spaghetti that was prepared by Juliet. Romeo did not like. Then he said it was terrible. So as a result, so if I have to, talk about cause and effect, cause and result, consequences, you can always use it as a result in your writing and stretch. So through your reading, you're actually learning it. So you need to go beyond the information level so that you can learn these things. You're learning how to write. Okay. So my friend unnecessarily trusted the stranger. As a result, he is suffering now. So you can create lots of sentences on your own using the same element. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. All these examples I'm going to share with you. I just wanted to hint at these examples so that you get to know that there are several strategies that are employed in the writing of a document. When you're reading that document, it is important that you discover those strategies, not just the meaning or the information. Those strategies that are used in the production of that or in the writing of that document. Once you do that, your writing task becomes easier. Okay, these are some more sentences which you can take a look at afterwards, and then you can. So what I mean to see, these are the transition words that you know. Things. So if you're familiar with these things, then you can always do so. Okay. Now to the second type of reading. If you remember, I talked about the first type of reading, that is reading as a cognitive approach, as a cognitive activity. When you are using reading as a cognitive activity, that means you are approaching the reading material through a logico-scientific method or logico-scientific approach. That means you are very, very logical, scientific, and objective in your approach. That means you're not allowing your emotions to be influenced by your reading. But this is a different kind of reading. If you remember, I talked about how all human beings are inquisitive. They are very, very curious, scientific, and objective. But at the same time, they are also aesthetic in their approach. Okay, that's why we have this left brain, right brain, dichotomy. The left brain more logical, ratioinating or ratiocinating. The right brain is more creative. Okay, so the left and right brain dichotomy. Now, this is a very interesting thing, the mirror neurons. The mirror neurons lie somewhere here. Here, the prefrontal cortex of your brain, okay, right in front of here. So what are the mirror neurons? I asked you, what do we read? Okay, if you found the answer, you must have seen that we read a lot of material that actually feed our logico-scientific need. A lot of material. We read scientific documents, science, we read mathematics, we read social sciences, excluding history. History to some extent, slightly different from other branches of social sciences. But then how much of literature do you get to read in your school days? And especially when you have opted for a science stream, you do not at all bother about literature. And I'm very, very right, because everyone knows that. But I must tell you that this is the best time for you to do it. Okay? Do it. Start to take your literature courses seriously. Seriously, because they're going to influence your affective experience. They're going to enrich your affective experience by creating a mirror neuron. Mirror neurons are fired the moment we see a certain action being performed. So what happens in literature? We find characters, we find settings, we find a story, we find a lifelike scene being enacted or being projected right in front of us. So that is the best form of simulation. I mean, this is a world, this is a time of simulations. The entire world is talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and various other things. And you all know that this is the buzzword now, simulations. So you'll not find greater simulation anywhere else except in literature, because there are simulation labs that are created in order to experience it. But literature gives you free, accessible simulation. So when you engage yourself with literary experiences, we call it affective knowing, not cognitive knowing. That was cognitive knowing, and this is affective knowing. So that will lead to better understanding of the material, because that will develop empathy in you, which will lead to certain executive functions, the enhancement of executive functions. So therefore, it is very, very important for you to understand the importance of literary lessons. I mean, to give you a challenge, I mean, I can give you a very tough mathematical problem. You may solve it. You may take 1 day, 2 days, 7 days to solve it. But this is a problem that you'll never, ever be able to solve. No one has been able to solve this problem. You just tell me what is life. Using one word, tell me what is life. Okay? No one in this world has been able to answer this question. what is life? So you say life is a struggle, life is a journey, life is this, life is that. So you're using a symbol, a metaphor. You're using a simulation to express what do you think about life. So no one can, solve this riddle. So that's a big challenge, and you can only experience, you can understand only when you allow your mirror neurons to fire. We all have mirror neurons. That's why whenever we are sad, we say this. Okay, and that's why people say this says this. Okay, so these are the mirror neurons. So that brings us to Bloom's taxonomy. You may be familiar with this. So Bloom's taxonomy, you start with this logico-scientific processes, analyzing, evaluating. All these things are all logico-scientific processes, starting with remembering, understanding, comprehending. Okay, then you begin to apply, and then you analyze, you evaluate. But at the end of it, you come to the most important, the topmost task, that is creating. And how do you create? Unless you combine the logico-scientific approach with the affective knowing. So what I mean to say is that reading has to be a two-way. Okay, it's a two-pronged approach instead of a single uni-pronged approach, which it has been for long. It has to be a two-pronged approach so that you understand, you experience it. All right. Why I say experience? Because when we write documents, most often you might have seen that people use sexist language. They use a sexist language because they do not know what sexist is or what being sexist is. They use sexist language, and in that process, they abuse, they harass, they embarrass people. People use language insensibly, that is insensible language. Okay, so it's very, very important for us to understand. And how do you understand? For example, while writing a word, while using a word, if I think that I'm sending it to a person, okay, who comes from a different cultural background, if I use this word, it might hurt the feelings of the person. So I must not use that word. So that's how you begin to learn. And how do you do it? It's only through your affective reading strategies, not through cognitive reading strategies, through affective reading strategies. So that's why it's very, very important. So Bloom has talked about a combination of these two strategies. So therefore, it's important for us to take a look at this. Now, this is the executive function, purely objective, purely scientific, goals, planning, prioritizing, reflection, flexibility, and organizing. All these things happen when you're reading a document. You start with your reading goals. If you say I'm reading for information, you'll gather information only. If you say I'm reading for writing, you're going to learn how to write while you're reading. So if you fix your goals, your executive functions will come into play. And then you plan. Okay, this is an interesting word. I'm going to use it when I write. And then you prioritize. Okay, I have 3 words now, but then this is a better word because this is neutral. This is not going to hurt anybody. You can prioritize, then you can reflect on your writing style while you're reading. And then you can think of having some flexibility in your writing through your reading. Okay. So this process goes on forever, and then you can organize. You're ready to organize your writing now. Okay. So this is executive function. And then I bring you to these things which we need to combine. So this is your affective domain, and this is your cognitive domain. So while reading documents, it's very, very important that we combine these two approaches and create one combined approach so that our reading strategies actually lead to proper writing strategies. So while reading, you can think of all these things. You're not only understanding, you're analyzing, evaluating, and then you are synthesizing. This is the most important thing. So what are you synthesizing? You're synthesizing with your writing strategies. Okay. So similarly, you are also developing certain feelings. So you're developing values, attitudes, and various other things. So your attitude plays a very important role in your writing. Okay. So if you write to somebody that you have failed to reply to my email, this is one way. What kind of attitude can you see in this? The reader will certainly read that the attitude is one of charging. Okay, you're charging somebody with something. You're treating the person as a culprit. You failed to reply to my response. On the other hand, if you can write that I have not received a response from you yet, you can see the difference. Okay, so you're ready to accept the fact that the person has not been able to reply to me, maybe owing to certain reasons, either deliberately or owing to certain other reasons. Since you do not know, you do not have a right to charge. So that's the difference. And you can think about this particular thing when you approach your reading material effectively. Okay, so try to find out the words, the expressions that will not hurt the readers. So that's the whole idea. So with that, I think we can now say that we started with reading as writing. We can now say reading is writing, in fact, because when I'm reading something, in fact, I'm writing something, because it is, in fact, enriching my writing competency. So reading is required to be done in a manner that it leads to writing, so that we do not have to focus on reading and writing skills separately. They become one because they are very, very important skills which will definitely improve into competences or grow as competences. So that's very, very important. So that is how I come to the end of this my presentation. Now we are ready to take questions. So give me just a few seconds so that I can stop sharing. Yes, right. Now we can take questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for delivering such a fantastic talk. We really feel delighted getting you here. Your talk was both educative and informative. I'm sure today's talk will definitely motivate our children to read more and more volumes of books in their spare time and enrich their knowledge. As you rightly said, the more you read, the more you learn. Thank you, sir. It's time for the second page of the program, that is the interactive session. The interactive session starts now. Students having doubts may talk to our honorable chief guest, Dr. Ajit Kumar Mishra, sir. May I take your permission, sir, to allow some of our students to interact with you?
Yes, please go.
Okay, thank you. Now I would like to call Jigyansha Mohanty to talk with our honorable guest.
Please let me know. Jigyasa is a student?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Jigyasa, please. I'm not getting your audio. I'm sorry, I'm not getting your audio, Jigyasa. If there is any problem, you can write your question in the chat box. Okay. Yes, try again.
Sir, I'm a student of class 11.
Right.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Yes, sir. Sir, I wanted to know that how can we not do, often we face the problem of our mother tongue dominance while speaking in our accent. So how can we eradicate that problem, or how can we avoid the dominance of mother tongue while speaking?
How can we? Actually,
Can we avoid the dominance of our mother tongue while speaking?
how can we overcome the dominance of the mother tongue while speaking? Is that your question?
Yes, yes, sir.
The dominance of mother tongue was no. Let's not call it the dominance of mother tongue, because it's our mother tongue. Therefore, it has to be dominant. If it is dominant, then we must be very, very happy that it is actually our mother tongue and it has not been disconnected from us. See, as I told you, speaking and writing are output activities, isn't it? So listening and reading are input activities. They help us build a storehouse, build an input, and then with the help of which we speak and we write. Most often, as you all know, reading is rapidly becoming an extinct art. Now we do not have readers now. It's fast becoming a dinosaur. Dinosaur in the sense that they are going to be extinct, these activities. People do not read. And you'll also agree with me that whenever we receive an assignment, most students receive an assignment, they don't read material. They just copy material and paste it. Now the problem is, when we do not read, when we do not expand the horizon of our language and information, because when we read things, we are gathering information. At the same time, we are also expanding the horizon of our language. For example, how do I know that univerbation is a word and you probably do not know? That's the difference, because I have read that document in which this word occurs and you have not been able to read that document. So it's all about our difference lies not in our intelligence levels, but in our information levels. So we need to be very clear about it. Okay, it may be that you are more intelligent than I am. I'm ready to accept that. Okay, you may be more intelligent than I am, but I am more informed than you are. That is the biggest difference. So it is more about information in the beginning. So that's why if you get to know more and more words, this mother tongue interference, and it's not dominance, in fact, this mother tongue interference will gradually go. It will not be there. Okay. And besides, it's a matter of comfort. We all find it comfortable to communicate in our mother tongue. Okay, and there is absolutely nothing wrong in that. If you look at the national education policy released recently, there is a stress on bilingual and multilingual approaches to teaching as well. And there is absolutely nothing wrong. Okay, right, Jigyasa?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so you carry the name Curiosity. That's the meaning of your name, Jigyasa?
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes, sir.
curiosity. I talked about curiosity, inquisitiveness. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So your parents probably want you to be a doctor. Am I right?
So they had let me to decide whatever I want to be. They
Okay,
agree with
that's
that.
great. That's great. So let's see
Thank
whether
you.
Jigyasa can turn out to be an effective experience as well. All right, fine then.
now I would like to call Arpita Subhasri.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good
I'm
afternoon.
Arpita.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
Arpita, a student of Standard 12. So, it is, of course, sure that writing is a higher skill than speaking. But when it comes to practical life, it's speaking skill which helps us to keep our stand. So, in today's
Exactly.
competitive era, development of which skill makes more sense?
Both the skills, in fact. Not only these two skills, all the skills. So, I mean, this is the era of competences, in fact. This is not the era of skills only, because a certain skill will help you overcome a certain challenge in a certain context only. So what beyond that? So you need to stretch your skills so that you can convert your skills into competences. Okay, so when it comes to language competences, we cannot be partial in our approach. For example, as I told you, there are two input skills. That means these are the skills that let us gather information, listening and reading. And then there are two output skills, speaking and writing. Okay, so you are absolutely right when you say that speaking is a very, very important skill, because we live in a competitive era in which we have to do a lot of presentations and interact with people, including our clients and various other types of people. So that's right. We need to have good speaking skills as well. But at the same time, you also know that these days you're also asked to manage your emails, manage your reports, and do a lot of things. So you probably do not realize this because you're very, very young. As you grow up, I mean, when you go for a bachelor's program and a master's program, you'll gradually understand the importance of writing as well. So I agree to what you said, that speaking is very, very important. Therefore, I told you that. So reading, in fact, leads to speaking and writing strategies. So at a different place, I once talked about reading as speaking. Okay, in the same way as I'm talking about reading as writing here, I talked about reading as speaking. So at the bottom of all these skills, these two skills, lies good reading activities, good reading strategies. Okay, so alongside speaking, you can also think of enhancing your writing abilities. That's always going to help you. Okay, so you need to write emails when you grow up. Okay, and take a job. You need to write a lot of emails. So when you sit down to write emails, you cannot speak. Okay, so maybe when that time approaches, we'll have audio emails so that you can record your email and send it to the recipient. Anyway, fine. Okay.
Thank you, sir. This dual development will surely help us.
Welcome, Arpita.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. Now I would like to call Purbi Patnaik.
Please let me know when you talk about the person, whether the person is a student or a teacher. Okay.
Purbi Patnaik is also a student.
That's great. That's great. Yes. Yes. Right. Please go ahead.
So my question is, in this present context, students are under really great tremendous pressure studies matter, how to perform well. So in this context, they do not get enough time to read extra books. And as our study system is based on, means we prefer mugging up everything rather than practical best. So how to manage our time to read some extra books?
Exactly. That's a very interesting question, Purbi. Because I'm currently addressing these issues faced by IITians, okay, the IIT students. They also have similar concerns, and therefore I've designed a course that is called Literature and Coping Skills. So I'm helping them cope with certain challenges in life, because you talked about a lot of peer pressure and a lot of pressure from your parents as well, which is a reality. That's absolutely true. And you're also true that you hardly get any time to read quality texts or quality reading material. So if there is a paucity of time, I would recommend the reading of famous quotes by great people, great achievers. Even that will help a lot, because in short, we can get to know or discover the lives of people. When people write something that actually is a gist of their life experience. So you read a few quotes by a writer. So in a short time, you'll get to know, you'll get to understand the struggle of those people. You see, Why we get to read biography or autobiography? Simply because we can discover that human element in their struggle. All great achievers have been great strugglers. They did not run away from the challenges, they faced the challenges. Okay, and that is the biggest thing we can derive from our reading of this content. So it's the human element that actually takes us closer to the struggles of that particular person. So if you do not have enough time to read extensively, you can read snippets. We call them snippets, okay? These snippets in the form of quotes or sayings, you can read these things and you can still understand, okay? So that will help you a lot. And then after, when I don't think the pressure will ever go off, because it will increase, in fact. Okay, now your parents, I can see you're wearing the school uniform. You're probably missing your school a lot. So and are you a monitor? Are you a monitor? No. Okay, so the pressure will increase. It will not come down. Now it is up to you to think about how to cope with the pressure. Okay, so you need to feed your expressive urge. There is absolutely no need to repress it. If you love music, do some music. If you love art and painting, you can do that. If you love literature, you can also do that. So there is always a need to do this. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that.
Thank you, Paradeep. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to call Shloka Satpathy, one more student.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm a student of class 11.
Yes, Shloka, or how do you pronounce your name? Shlok?
Sir, Shlok.
Okay, Shlok Satpathy, right? How many shloks are you familiar with? Do you know any shlok?
No, sir.
No? Oh, come on. You need to justify your name first. Okay, fine then.
Well
You
done.
afterwards. Okay, okay. Yes, go ahead.
Sir, nowadays we are having a great access over internet, right? We can
Right.
have animated courses. We are having ebooks, modules, many things over internet. So,
Exactly.
is there any significance of reading books nowadays in this internet world?
You're talking about reading physical books. Okay.
Yes, sir.
The printed form, not
Yes, sir.
in digital form.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're talking about reading printed books. Okay.
Yes, sir. Printed books.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. You're absolutely right, because everything is available on the internet now. So in the digital form, and the digital form has made it easier because we don't have to carry loads of books with us. I mean, even if we want to read them all. So, I mean, we're going on a vacation, we want to read a lot of books. We don't have to pack them in our backpacks or in our luggage. We can still download and read those books in the digital forms. That's absolutely true. This digital revolution has made it very, very easy for us to have access to these books. Okay. But there is a different side of it. There's a darker side of it, which is very popularly known as the screen time syndrome. Okay, STS, screen time syndrome. The human eyes are not naturally, designed to read in this way. For example, when you're reading digital content, and besides the blue light that gets emitted, or that is emitted when we read content in the digital form, the blue light, which is very, very harmful. And that's the reason why scientists and neuroscientists, in fact, worldwide are expressing their concerns over the reduction of screen time. When I say screen time, It may be for any reason. It may be for reading or for watching movies, anything. So the reduction of screen time is a big challenge now. So they say that not beyond 30 minutes. 30 minutes is the maximum screen time that we can go for at one go. Okay, so that will create a problem. And that's one big reason why you might have noticed that most digital devices these days have introduced something called the dark mode. You might have come across this. Okay, not the light mode, it's the dark mode. So when content gets projected against a dark background, it actually causes less strain to our eyes. So that's the reason. But then the strain is there. On the other hand, when it comes to printed books, okay, so the eyes are absolutely happy when we read material because there is no light emitted from the pages. Okay, so we are very, very comfortable while reading those books. But when it comes to certain practical aspects, you're right that we have access to all these contents in the internet, so we can do so. But then we need to adopt the best practices while going digital. Otherwise, that will lead to problems. All right. So did I answer your question, Shlok?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Shlok Satpathy. Now, the last but not the least, one of my colleague, Mrs. Indu Dwivedi, is interested to interact with you, sir. So over to Mrs. Indu Dwivedi.
Yes.
Very good afternoon to you, sir.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Sir,
I'm sorry, I'm not getting your audio.
this year,
I'm not getting your audio.
am I audible to you, sir?
Yeah, it's better now.
Sir, this year, CBSE has introduced analytical writing for the students of class 10.
Exactly.
In your previous slides, you have shown a wonderful table depicting all the connectors and linkers. Sir,
Exactly.
my request to you is, would you please help our students to write beautiful analytical paragraph, which they have to write based on the given outline or data, chart, or any sort of cues. Would you please throw light on that? Which will be very beneficial for my students.
Exactly. That's an interesting question.
Thank you, sir.
Well, there is an area that is called academic writing. And for long, India did not, I mean, when I say India, we did not realize the importance of academic writing. And I'm currently finishing a report for UGC in which I have very clearly mentioned that not a single university in the country, I'm talking about public funded universities, I'm talking about private universities, some of them have introduced this course. Not a single public funded university in India has introduced a course on academic writing. Okay. And we have been conducting examinations and evaluating the answer scripts of students for a long, long time now. Now, how can we expect students to write well when we are not training them in academic writing? Okay. When I say academic writing, that's an umbrella term in which analytical writing is also a major component. So it's heartening to see that because sometime back I met an official from CBSE Delhi, Dr. Ramashankar. So he happens to be a deputy director there. So we had a very nice conversation over these issues. And it's very heartening to see that CBSE is gradually waking up to the need of academic writing by introducing analytical writing. What I suggest is there are very few very good and very interesting content or material on academic writing available for free download. For example, Stephen Bailey academic writing book. It's a full-length book that can be downloaded so that students can be gradually introduced. I don't say that they should be suddenly introduced into the world of academic writing. They need to be gradually introduced into the world of academic writing so that they learn, because it's a very enjoyable experience. Most of our students are not confident of writing because they do not know how to write. Okay, once they know how to write, they will find it to be the most interesting activity. Okay, so because writing allows you a certain time to think, which speaking doesn't probably, because you cannot take longer pauses while speaking. If you're not the late Prime Minister, Mr. Vajpayee, who used to take longer pauses while speaking, not many people do that. But while writing, you can always take longer pauses. You write one paragraph in the morning, and then I'm not talking about writing during the examination, because by that time you're ready. So in order to create this readiness in the students, you can give them certain material on academic writing. Okay, so that will help.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
We are giving them materials. We are giving them materials. DAV Zone 1 has also organized so many webinars, and I was expecting some activities which of materials that you would love to share with us.
Yeah, definitely. I'll share this material content and activities with Mr. Mahapatra, and then you'll get those content.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
It was wonderful talking to you.
Let's sum it up here. Thank you, children, and my colleague, Mrs. Indu Dwivedi, for this interaction. The interaction was highly interactive. Now, I would like to invite one of my colleagues, Mrs. Soumyasri Das, ma'am, to propose vote of thanks. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, one and all. Honorable Chief Guest, Revered Aero Madam, esteemed Principal Sir, distinguished guests, respected supervisors, my dear colleagues, and my very dear students and viewers on the virtual platform. I, Mishra, that on behalf of DAV PPL Paradeep, feel immense pleasure to take this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks to our eminent guest, Dr. Ajit Kumar Mishra, Associate Professor in the Department of the Humanistic Studies in IIT Varanasi, for sparing his valuable time from his busy schedule to grace the webinar. Sir, it was really a very educative, a very wonderful session. I don't hope, rather I believe that all of us, especially our students and viewers, will be amply benefited by your influential words. Sir, your golden words have enlightened us and enhanced our interest in reading. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It's a pride privilege on my part to express my profound gratitude to our Aero Madam for being there. Madam, your presence has added huge to this webinar. We are honored to have you with us. I also take this opportunity especially to express my high regards and gratitude to our ever active and very energetic Principal Sir, Sri Sanjeev Kumar Sahu, for being our support system and for encouraging us to organize this webinar. Sir, without you, it could have not happened. Thank you, sir. I extend my happy thanks to our supervisors and colleagues for giving support and encouragement all the time. I should thank all the guests and viewers for being our inspiration. Most importantly, I'd like to thank all our young minds, our students, the future of our nation, for whom we get the motivation to organize such events with a hope that they will be empowered with knowledge, which I think has happened. Last but not the least, I extend my our technical hands, Mr. D.K. Muduli and Mr. Vikram Samantrai, for their immense help and contribution in conducting the webinar. Once again, I thank each and every member related to this webinar, for whom this webinar has become a grand success today. Thank you all. Thank you for being there. Namaskar.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Reading is an art of civilization. It is proved and established. Let's take the vow to read more and more books when find time. Thank you all. Thank you. Namaste. Namaste.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I mean, my sincere thanks to everyone out there. Mr. Sahu, the principal of DAV PPL, Mr. Mahapatra, and the host of this session, and the ARO of DAV schools, and all the participants out there. So thank you for this opportunity that you gave to me to interact with you all and express my views with you, express an exchange, in fact. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar.